Hello and welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. Kay Murray, Alejandro Moreno and Shaka Hislop. And before we get into anything, yes, today the power rankings are...
Ah, boy.
So that's what you've got to look forward to.
Oh, boy. That's why everybody's tuned in. Yeah, okay, I got it.
Unfortunately, we do not start there. We start with Barcelona's first loss of the season. It came to PSG as we take a look at the Spanish press saying a lot of champion for this Barcelona. Obviously, they conceded that 90th minute winner for PSG. Hansi Flick conceded that PSG are the superior side.
And say, okay, we are on the same level. So, but also I think I believe in my team, and today was not our best day. So, but we are working that we reach again this level. So it's for me football. I think we start very well in this match, and but after I think also 30 minutes, 35 minutes, it was like PSG control more the game. So we suffered a little bit in the first half, but also in the second half we have this control of the game in the second half. We had not the structure normally we have, and I think we played not on our highest level. But this is necessary when you play in the Champions League, especially also against opponent with this quality of PSG. They did really good, especially in the second half, and they deserved the victory.
Let's now welcome in Frank Leboeuf from France and Alex Kirkland from Spain. Alex, let me start with you on what we've just heard from Hansi Flick. It's not often you hear a Barcelona coach saying that his side are not at the same level as the team that they are up against. What's the reaction been to this in Spain?
Yeah, I think the feeling is maybe this was a little bit of a reality check for Barcelona, but maybe that's no bad thing. Yeah, I think a loss at this stage in the competition to a really good team can be quite useful, can be quite instructive. You can learn a lot about where your team is at, what's working, what's not, what needs to improve if you can go all the way in this competition. And we've seen that. We saw that last season with PSG. The PSG we saw last season in the Champions League phase wasn't the same PSG that we saw at the business end of the competition, going all the way and winning the trophy. So I think Barca can use this. I think Hansi Flick can use this. They can look back and look at parts of the game where they competed with PSG. They did compete with PSG for the first half hour, 45 minutes. The second half was much more difficult, and there was some, no doubt, some mistakes in there. The way they conceded that late goal was really poor defending from Barca, and they kind of run out of gas. And ultimately, yes, they couldn't compete with this PSG side right now, even with PSG missing some key players. But like I say, I don't think it has to be a case of kind of panic stations or anything like it. I think they can look at this and use it in a constructive way to improve.
Now, obviously, we heard Hansi Flick talking about the structure of the side and them not having the structure when they're at their highest level. It was something that you spoke about on yesterday's show, Ale. But isn't Hansi Flick, as the manager, responsible for ensuring this structure is in place?
By definition, you would think that one of the main jobs of a manager is to provide a team with structure, or an organization, or a reset position. Hey, we lose the ball in this area, this is where we settle our line. If we're not in a position where we can press the ball, maybe we take a step back together. These are basic things from defending. I'm not discovering a new way of playing or a new way of defending, but they're basic concepts that you have to get right, especially against a team like PSG, and especially against players of that sort of talent. And what PSG exposed from Barcelona yesterday is the sort of things that Real Sociedad were not able to expose over the weekend, even though they had the chances to do that. It's the sort of things that Levante exposed against Barcelona earlier this season. Now, I'm not talking about giant killers in La Liga. I'm talking about teams that are struggling in La Liga, and yet they created opportunities and scored goals against Barcelona. So it shouldn't come as a surprise. What we have seen, though, is that PSG, a better team with better players, you give them that time, you give them that space, you lack structure, you're going to get exposed, and they were exposed.
Let's talk to the defender on the panel, because obviously, Frank, you know when you're in a game as a player. Let's get to in-game responsibility here. You know when you're under pressure. Can they not decide as a defensive line to drop that little bit deeper themselves and not always rely on what's been said beforehand? Can they decide that themselves within the game?
I agree with you, and I would have done the same. But you can go against the coach decision, and the plan and the structure, because they have a structure. They have an offensive structure, play high on the field. But that's, for me, it's a half of a structure, because they don't have the defensive organization that you need, especially in that level, and especially when you struggle. And we saw for 30 minutes Barcelona dominating the game, but after and the last 15 minutes of the first half, they were nowhere near it. So it should have been done by the coach, but also maybe some more experienced player like Koundé to say to the coach, oh, you know what? Or De Jong, maybe say, maybe if we drop a little bit, that would be better. We get a little bit more conservative, because we are opening up too much against the best team in the world. I repeat, the best team in the world. So it's not like you're playing randomly some teams and you know that you can cope with them. No, and it could have been worse. Really, it could have been worse. If Barcola in the first half, but also in the second half and some other occasions, they had the chance to score more goals, could have been worse with not their three offensive players. So yes, as a defender, I would have yelled to the coach, Coach, we have to do something. We have to drop 20 yards backwards, and to make sure we want more structure, more compact defensively, and they weren't, and nobody acts that way, and they've been punished.
Frank mentioned it, Shaka, the best team in the world, but without some of their first choice attackers on the day. Were you surprised how it ended?
I was surprised at how easy certainly the second half looked. And to Alex's point, Barcelona win the game for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, as he said. But this is against a PSG who are missing 4, 5 usual of their regular starters, yet still Barcelona cannot stay with them in the second half. And on the one hand, if you're looking at this from a PSG perspective, how good is it that these young players can come in and PSG do not lose anything by way of identity, of who they are, of work rate, of how everybody understands their positions and their roles within this team. From a Barca perspective, again, it shows how far behind a first team PSG you still are. And we're talking a lot about structure, about Barcelona's lack of it. I thought that second goal kind of highlighted PSG's understanding of Barcelona's high line and lack of structure. Barcelona win possession of the ball, top of their defensive third. PSG pressed, won the ball back, and rather than mount an attack from there, came all the way back to Chevalier, because they know you move the ball up that end of the park, Barcelona and their very identity, they're going to just push forward and try to press you high up. And PSG just pass out. So rather than do the usual thing in winning the ball back at the top of Barcelona's defensive third and try to build something from there, PSG knows their opponent and come all the way back around, and Barcelona just fall into a very simple trap and concede the second goal. And again, that showed, one, the coaching of Luis Enrique, and you were talking about players on the park understanding the moment. You were asking about Barcelona in particular, but it shows that PSG know what's needed at the moment. They don't need that shout from the sidelines. They know what they're doing. And in all honesty, it showed the difference between a good, very good team, you could say, in Barcelona, and a team like PSG, because in truth, all in all, they were miles apart.
I'll be honest with you, Shaq. I understand and I wholeheartedly believe that PSG is the best team in the world, and they show that again against Barcelona. And so there's no denying that. But the pass that Vitinha hits out to Hakimi in the 90th minute, I am fairly confident that I can put you in that position and you can hit a pass somewhere in the vicinity of where Hakimi was and you still get it to him, because there were 30 yards of a circumference of a radius where he was open. Where is the defending of Barcelona?
And that's my point. PSG moved the ball all the way back to their goalkeeper. Barcelona just throw men forward because that's what they do. And PSG, understanding that, find all these spaces. And Vitinha finds all the room that he needs. Now, again, I am more focused on PSG's understanding of the moment as opposed to Barcelona's deficiencies here. Understanding that this is what Barcelona are going to do, and this is how we expose them. I just thought, well played PSG in that moment.
Well, absolutely. Pau Cubarsí was 30 yards out of position, which then forced Alejandro Valde to get himself 30 yards out of position, tucking inside. And they're all watching the ball here like, oh, there's the ball, that's fine. Where's Hakimi? Oh, wait, he's over there, completely wide open. And now Alejandro Valdez freaking out. He has to go out wide. And Cubarsí is still nowhere to be found in chasing Gonzalo Ramos. Now, that's all fine and well. And look, I love PSG, and I love what they do, and I love their structure, and I love the way that Luis Enrique has matured this team, that even without their stars, they're playing at this high level. But you also need to have a team that allows you to do these things. Mind you, I think the most important question to be asked here, will you hit that pass? Could you hit that pass? Would you get it to Hakimi?
Outside of my left, easy.
Outside of your left.
Outside of my left. Okay. Easy.
I can't tell whether he was being a good friend or not. Even Shaka, I would feel confident.
I didn't say even Shaka.
That's as good as a compliment as you'll get from Ali.
Talk to us, Frank.
What strikes me the most is that, if I'm not mistaken, Barcelona didn't play the Club World Cup. And during the press conference, the post-game press conference, Hansi Flick said that they played many games. Okay, so maybe they were tired, comparing to Paris Saint-Germain, who played until the final, the Club World Cup. And on top of it, because they didn't play the Club World Cup, why did they don't try to work on that? I mean, we put that, last year they got 3 titles, domestic titles, and it was a successful, and it worked, the High Line worked, even if we already all said, and all pundits said, and the world said, be careful, because at some point you're going to be punished. Why did they not take the option 2? Exactly, I have only one option. I'm very amazed by coach, and we talked about Pep Guardiola as well, say, why they don't have an option 2? It's impossible at that level that because the game goes in the wrong way, why you don't choose tactically to do something else? I'm very surprised that Hansi Flick, Pep Guardiola, who are 2 of the best coaches, they don't use that. They don't have an option 2.
One last point I wanted to make, because you asked the question to Frank about the players making decisions on the field. I'll give you a really good example of that. Against Real Sociedad, the goal by Real Sociedad that gets scored against Barcelona, Gerard Martin is in a position in which he can actually go and get inside of the player Odriozola, who ended up scoring the tap-in. He makes a choice to prioritize the high line rather than getting inside of the player, actually making a defensive play to clear the danger. That tells you all about the mindset of these players in that back line. They're all more concerned about, let's stay up here rather than that guy over there. And in any defending drill that any of us have done at whatever level we've played, principle number 1 of an outside back is you get inside of the attacking player. And you saw in that fraction of a second, he went to go this way to get inside of Odriozola, and he said, no, the high line is more important. When you have that going on, then you have a problem. And it's a problem that needs to be addressed.